The email from my father hit like a slap across the face. "You are no longer our son. Don't ever contact us again." Those words came after I sent them a photo of me and Raymond at our anniversary dinner in San Francisco, finally revealing the truth about who I loved. I stared at the screen in my small apartment overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, the city lights of San Francisco mocking my isolation. Victor Thompson, tenured professor of American literature at UC Berkeley, suddenly felt like a stranger in his own life. My hands shook as I set the phone down, the weight of years of hiding crashing down. Raymond, my partner of 4 years, was at a photo shoot across town, capturing the vibrant street life that had brought us together at a gallery opening in downtown LA 3 years earlier. We had kept our relationship quiet at first, respecting my family's conservative values from their small town in Iowa. But the pressure had become too much. I had decided to come out fully, hoping for understanding. Instead, the silence that followed the email stretched into hours. I paced the wooden floors, replaying every holiday dinner where I had smiled through questions about girlfriends and future grandchildren. My mother had always pushed for tradition, my father for strength defined in narrow terms. Now those expectations had shattered me. When Raymond finally walked through the door that evening, his camera bag slung over one shoulder and his warm smile fading at the sight of my face, I broke. "They know," I whispered. He pulled me into his arms without a word, his steady heartbeat the only anchor in the storm. We sat on the couch until midnight, talking in low voices about what came next. Raymond suggested I take time off from lecturing, but I refused. Teaching was my lifeline, the one place where I could discuss themes of identity and hidden truths in books without exposing my own. The next morning, I walked across campus, the fog lifting off the bay as students hurried to classes. In my lecture hall, I stood before 200 faces and spoke about the loneliness in Fitzgerald's characters, how they masked their true selves to fit society. One student raised a hand afterward and asked if I believed people could ever truly be accepted for who they were. I paused, my throat tight, and answered that acceptance often started within. Back home, Raymond had cooked pasta, simple and comforting. We ate in silence at first. Then he shared stories of his own coming out years ago in Chicago, how friends had stood by him while family drifted away. His resilience inspired me, but doubt gnawed at my edges. Was I strong enough to rebuild without the people who raised me? Days turned into weeks. I threw myself into grading papers late into the night, red pen flying across essays about queer subtext in classic novels. Colleagues noticed my distraction but said nothing, except for Mark, my closest friend in the department. He had always been supportive in theory, yet when I confided the full story over coffee one afternoon, his eyes shifted. "That's heavy, Victor. You sure you want to make this public?" The question stung like a warning. I brushed it off, but the seed of unease was planted. Raymond and I took long walks along the waterfront, hand in hand for the first time without glancing over our shoulders. The city felt freer, yet my heart remained heavy with loss. One evening as the sun dipped behind the bridge, Raymond stopped and turned to me. "Whatever happens, we've got each other. That's the family we choose." His words wrapped around me like a promise, but deep down I wondered how long that would be enough against the void my blood family had left. The semester continued with its rhythm of office hours and committee meetings. Students began seeking me out more, sensing perhaps the authenticity in my lectures. One young man lingered after class, sharing quietly that he was struggling with similar family rejection. Listening to him, I felt a spark of purpose ignite. Maybe my pain could help someone else. Raymond encouraged me to start writing it down, a private journal that slowly evolved into something more structured. Late nights at the kitchen table, laptop glowing, I poured out memories of childhood in Iowa, the confusion of adolescence, the joy of meeting Raymond at that gallery where his photographs captured urban loneliness so perfectly. He would proofread over my shoulder, suggesting gentler ways to phrase the hurt without losing its truth. Our bond deepened through those quiet hours, yet external pressures mounted. My sister texted once, begging me to reconsider and fix things before Mom's health suffered. I deleted the message, anger mixing with guilt. Raymond held me through the tears that followed, reminding me that love shouldn't require erasure. As winter rains swept the Bay Area, I submitted my first chapter to a small online literary journal on a whim. The acceptance email arrived 2 weeks later, bringing a fragile sense of validation. Raymond celebrated with takeout Thai and a toast to new beginnings. For the first time since the email, hope flickered. But I knew the road ahead was far from clear. Colleagues whispered in hallways, and Mark grew distant, canceling our weekly lunches with vague excuses. The isolation crept in again, testing my resolve. Yet every morning Raymond's smile greeted me, and every lecture reminded me why I fought to stay visible. The journey of claiming my identity had only just begun, carrying me forward one uncertain step at a time. The journal entry turned article gained modest traction online, shared among academic circles and beyond. Students forwarded it in group chats, and soon emails trickled in from strangers across the country who saw themselves in my words. Raymond suggested expanding it into a full memoir, his photographers I already imagining cover art from his own shots of foggy San Francisco mornings. I hesitated at first, fearing more backlash, but his steady encouragement pushed me forward. We spent weekends at his studio in Oakland, sorting old photos and notes while rain pattered against the windows. In those moments our connection felt unbreakable, a quiet partnership built on mutual respect rather than grand gestures. Yet cracks appeared when Mark finally confronted me in the faculty lounge one Tuesday. "People are talking, Victor. Your article is making waves, and not all good." The dean asked if your personal life affects your teaching. The betrayal cut deep. Mark, who had attended my birthday parties and met Raymond casually at department events, now distanced himself to protect his own image. I walked away without replying, chest tight with disappointment. That evening I told Raymond over dinner, watching his jaw clench in anger on my behalf. "He's not worth your energy," he said, but I saw the worry in his eyes. Our relationship faced its first real test as I withdrew into work, canceling plans to revise chapters late into the night. Raymond gave me space, but I sensed the growing distance. One weekend, he left for a shoot in Los Angeles without the usual text updates, and doubt crept in. Was he pulling away too, tired of my family's shadow? The misunderstanding festered until he returned, explaining the trip was to pitch a joint project with a gallery interested in pairing my writing with his images. Relief washed over me, followed by guilt for assuming the worst. We reconciled with a long walk through Muir Woods, the redwoods towering like silent witnesses to our commitment. Back on campus, success began to build quietly. My department head pulled me aside after a faculty meeting, praising the way my article had sparked student discussions on diversity. "Keep going, Victor. This could open doors." The words fueled me, and I dove deeper into the manuscript, weaving in stories of societal pressure and the courage it took to stand tall. Raymond became my sounding board, offering insights from his own experiences as an artist navigating the same world. Our evenings shifted from tension to collaboration, laughter returning as we brainstormed titles and debated chapter endings. Yet the family silence weighed heavier with each passing month. My mother's birthday came and went without a card from me, a deliberate choice that left me hollow. Raymond noticed and suggested therapy, a step I resisted at first but eventually took. In those sessions I confronted the psychological scars, learning that rejection didn't define my worth. The therapist's gentle questions helped me see how my decisions shaped my growth, from choosing honesty over comfort to prioritizing love with Raymond. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms lining the campus paths, mirroring the tentative hope blooming inside me. I submitted the completed manuscript to agents, nerves frayed as rejection letters piled up. Raymond stayed positive, organizing a small gathering of supportive friends from the LGBT community for encouragement. Among them was a publisher's scout who read excerpts and expressed interest. The possibility electrified us both. As summer approached, I prepared for a major conference in Chicago, my first public speaking engagement since the Disowned. Raymond would join me, turning it into a trip filled with museum visits and quiet dinners. Packing together felt like a small victory, proof we were building something lasting. But on the eve of departure, an anonymous email arrived accusing me of using my position to push an agenda, likely from someone in my old circle. The words stung, echoing my father's rejection, yet I chose to face it head-on. refusing to let fear dictate my path. Raymond squeezed my hand at the airport, his presence a reminder of the family I had chosen. The flight west to east brought reflection, memories of childhood trips with parents now tainted by loss. In Chicago, the conference buzzed with energy, scholars debating identity in literature. My panel on authentic voices drew a full room, questions probing deeper than I expected. Afterward, a young professor approached, sharing his own parallel struggles, and in that exchange, I felt the ripple of impact. Raymond captured candid shots throughout, later editing them into a series he called Visible Threads. Our bond strengthened through shared purpose, misunderstandings fading into deeper trust. Returning to Berkeley, I found a voicemail from an agent, interest in the memoir. The news sparked celebration, but also fresh anxiety about exposure. Would success invite more scrutiny or healing? The weeks blurred with revisions and contract talks. Raymond supported every late call, his calm presence grounding me. Friends rallied, Mark notably absent, his betrayal a lingering ache that taught me about true loyalty. As fall semester began, the book deal was signed, a milestone that shifted my trajectory. Students congratulated me in hallways, their admiration a balm. Yet inside, the psychological journey continued, forcing me to confront how far I had come from that slammed door. Raymond and I stole moments on the balcony overlooking the bay, discussing dreams for a future unshadowed by the past. The path ahead promised more challenges, but together we faced them with growing confidence. The book deal brought immediate changes, deadlines looming as I balanced teaching with edits. Raymond took on extra shoots to cover our living costs during my reduced hours, a quiet sacrifice that deepened my appreciation for him. We argued once over finances, a misunderstanding where I accused him of resenting the time I spent writing, only to learn he had turned down a lucrative European assignment to stay close. The revelation humbled me, highlighting how my insecurities still echoed old family wounds. We talked through the night, emerging stronger, decisions now rooted in partnership rather than fear. Campus life evolved too. My lectures on modern identity drew standing room crowds, students lingering to discuss personal parallels. One afternoon, a group invited me to speak at their LGBT Alliance meeting, an honor that felt like validation after years of hiding. Raymond attended quietly in the back, his proud smile visible across the room. Success tasted sweet, yet the psychological cost surfaced in sleepless nights replaying my father's words. Therapy sessions helped unpack the guilt, turning pain into fuel for the final manuscript draft. The publisher pushed for a release date in spring, coinciding with Pride Month, a timing that both excited and terrified me. Raymond designed the cover from one of his photographs, a misty bridge symbolizing transition. As winter set in, a betrayal blindsided us. A colleague leaked details of my personal story to a conservative alumni group, sparking campus rumors that questioned my professionalism. The dean called me in for a meeting, his tone neutral but eyes concerned. I defended my work calmly, citing academic freedom, but the incident shook me. Raymond listened without judgment, suggesting we counter with transparency rather than defense. Together we drafted an op-ed for the university paper, framing my journey as one of resilience. Publishing it lifted a weight, student support pouring in through emails and notes slipped under my office door. The experience taught me the power of owning my narrative. With the book nearing completion, I faced a major decision, a prestigious job offer at an East Coast university with higher pay and visibility. Accepting meant uprooting our life in California, leaving Raymond's established network. After long discussions, we chose to stay, my sacrifice of ambition for stability reinforcing our commitment. The turning point arrived unexpectedly during a routine faculty dinner. The department chair announced my upcoming book in his toast, the room erupting in applause. For the first time, I felt seen without apology. Raymond squeezed my knee under the table, his eyes reflecting shared pride. Back home, we celebrated quietly, planning a small trip to Yosemite for inspiration. Hiking trails together, surrounded by ancient sequoias, we talked about the future without family shadows. Yet news from home filtered through my sister. Mom was unwell, stress-related, she hinted. The message reopened old wounds, but I chose not to respond immediately, focusing on my growth instead. The manuscript went to final proofs, cover revealed, generating buzz online. Interviews followed, local media first, then national podcasts where I spoke openly about love and acceptance. Raymond joined one remotely, his voice steady as he described supporting me through rejection. Their combined stories resonated, downloads spiking. As release day approached, anxiety mixed with excitement. We attended a pre-launch event at a Berkeley bookstore, friends filling the seats. My reading from the opening chapter, the same email moment, drew tears and standing ovation. Raymond's arm around me afterward felt like home. Success built steadily, reviews praising the raw honesty. Sales climbed, landing it on local bestseller lists. The psychological shift was profound. I no longer defined myself by family rejection, but by the life I had built. Raymond proposed a quiet commitment ceremony among close friends, no fanfare, just vows of enduring partnership. The simple event marked another milestone, decisions now guided by love rather than loss. Winter rains gave way to spring blooms, mirroring renewal. The book launch party overflowed with supporters, students, and colleagues mingling. In quiet moments I reflected on the journey, from that devastating email to this room full of chosen family. Yet a new email arrived that evening, from my mother this time. "We've seen your success. Can we talk?" The words hung heavy, unexpected after months of silence. Raymond read it over my shoulder, his hand on my back steady. We discussed options late into the night, weighing confrontation against closure. The next morning I replied briefly, agreeing to a call. The conversation with my parents was stilted at first, their voices laced with regret and mentions of my newfound fame. They wanted to visit, to understand. I agreed cautiously, the decision heavy with consequences. Raymond supported without pushing, knowing this confrontation would test everything. As the semester ended, preparations for their arrival consumed me. Lectures wrapped with final exams, students wishing me well on the book tour. Success had transformed my career, invitations pouring in for speaking engagements. Yet the impending family meeting loomed largest, forcing me to confront lingering pain. We cleaned the apartment, Raymond arranging his photos on the walls as subtle reminders of our life. The day arrived with tension thick in the air. My parents stood at the door, older and uncertain. Hugs were awkward, conversations careful. Over coffee they admitted seeing my interviews, realizing the depth of their mistake. Tears flowed as my father apologized for the harsh words, Mom explaining traditional pressures. I listened, sharing my side without accusation, actions speaking through calm responses. Raymond joined later, his presence easing the room. The evening ended with tentative plans for future contact, reconciliation fragile but real. Driving them to the hotel, I felt a weight lift, growth evident in my ability to forgive without forgetting. Back home, Raymond and I sat on the balcony, city lights twinkling. The journey had reshaped us both, love enduring through every trial. Yet questions lingered about the timing of their change. The family visit marked a cautious new chapter, weekly calls replacing years of silence. My parents asked about the book tour, genuine curiosity replacing judgment. Raymond joined some conversations, sharing photography stories that bridged gaps. Success amplified, the memoir hitting national lists and sparking media features on LGBT acceptance in academia. Invitations flooded in, including a TEDx talk in New York. Preparing the speech, I wove personal anecdotes with literary analysis, Raymond helping rehearse in our living room. His feedback sharpened my delivery, turning vulnerability into strength. The trip east brought us to bustling Manhattan, the conference energy electric. On stage, I spoke of the email that changed everything, the love that rebuilt me, and the acceptance earned through struggle. The standing ovation resonated deeply, clips going viral online. Back in California, sales surged, royalties funding a small foundation for young writers facing identity challenges. Raymond and I discussed expanding our impact, perhaps a joint exhibit pairing words and images. Planning sessions filled evenings with purpose, misunderstandings long forgotten. A close friend from the community, Sarah, helped organize events, her loyalty contrasting Mark's earlier betrayal. The psychological healing continued in therapy, where I processed how success had shifted family dynamics. My sister visited alone one weekend, admitting envy of my courage and sharing her own regrets. Conversations deepened bonds, decisions now inclusive of this evolving support. Yet a new conflict arose when a tabloid twisted my story, sensationalizing the disownment for clicks. The article spread quickly, forcing a public response. Raymond stood beside me at a press conference, our united front silencing rumors. The experience tested resilience, but reinforced our partnership. Summer brought the book tour across cities, Raymond traveling with me when possible. In Chicago, we revisited the gallery where we met, reminiscing under familiar lights. Audiences asked probing questions about forgiveness, my answers evolving with each stop. Success brought financial stability, allowing us to consider buying a house in the hills. House hunting became joyful weekends, envisioning a shared future. Back home, my parents requested another visit, this time including extended family. The gathering was tense initially, but warmed with shared meals and stories. My father pulled me aside, admitting pride in my achievements and sorrow for lost time. The moment felt authentic, consequences of my growth evident in their changed perspective. Raymond integrated seamlessly, conversations flowing naturally. As fall semester resumed, I balanced teaching with new opportunities, including a guest professorship offer I declined to stay rooted. The sacrifice felt right, prioritizing stability. Students noticed my lighter demeanor, engagement in class soaring. Raymond's latest exhibit opened to acclaim, featuring pieces inspired by our journey. Attending the opening, I felt immense pride. Our lives intertwined beautifully. A misunderstanding briefly surfaced when Raymond received an international offer, but open dialogue resolved it quickly, strengthening trust. The year closed with holiday plans including both families, a blend of traditions. Reflections during quiet moments revealed profound change, from isolated pain to connected purpose. The major turning point had been the TEDx moment, shifting external perception and internal peace. Now, with reconciliation underway, I navigated new dynamics carefully. My mother's health improved with reduced stress, conversations lighter. Success had indeed opened doors, but the real triumph lay in personal growth and unwavering love with Raymond. Friends gathered for a New Year's celebration, toasts honoring resilience. Looking ahead, we planned community workshops on identity and acceptance. The path forward promised continued evolution, each decision shaping a more authentic life. Winter gave way to new routines, joint workshops drawing participants eager for stories of acceptance. Raymond and I co-facilitated sessions, his visual storytelling complementing my words. Feedback highlighted the impact, reinforcing our shared mission. Family integration progressed slowly, my parents attending a local reading virtually. Their comments afterward showed genuine interest, the shift from rejection to engagement remarkable. A betrayal resurfaced when an old acquaintance sold private details to a blog, but swift legal action and public support minimized damage. The incident prompted deeper discussions with Raymond about boundaries, our bond emerging fortified. Success continued with a film option for the memoir, negotiations requiring travel to Los Angeles. Raymond accompanied, turning business into adventure with beach walks and studio tours. Back in Berkeley, tenure review loomed, my portfolio now including the book and workshops. Colleagues who once whispered now praised the visibility. The review passed smoothly, celebration dinner with Raymond featuring quiet toasts. Psychological growth manifested in reduced anxiety, therapy concluding on a positive note. I confronted lingering self-doubt through journaling, actions reflecting newfound confidence. My sister announced her engagement, inviting us to the wedding in Iowa. The trip tested family dynamics, but warm welcomes from cousins eased tensions. Raymond's presence normalized everything, conversations revealing gradual acceptance. Returning home, we reflected on the distance traveled. A major conference in Seattle invited me as keynote, the speech focusing on sacrifice and choice. Audience engagement led to new connections, expanding our network. Raymond captured the event in photos later exhibited locally. As spring bloomed, we hosted a fundraiser for the foundation, success measured in funds raised and stories shared. My parents contributed anonymously, a gesture that touched deeply. The act symbolized healing without pressure. Raymond proposed expanding our home with a writing studio, plans drawn over coffee. The project symbolized commitment, construction beginning amid busy schedules. Misunderstandings arose over design choices, but resolved through compromise, teaching patience. Summer brought book tour extensions and family reunions at the lake house my parents rented. Days filled with boating and talks, revelations about past fears fostering empathy. The turning point solidified when my father publicly acknowledged my work at a small gathering, words I never expected. Emotions surged, closure arriving through quiet acceptance. Back in California, routine resumed with renewed energy. Students graduated, some crediting my classes for their journeys. The psychological rewards compounded, identity fully embraced. Raymond's career thrived too, commissions from galleries inspired by our collaboration. Evenings involved planning future projects, love the constant thread. A minor health scare for Raymond prompted reflection on priorities, my decision to scale back travel proving sacrifice's value. Recovery strengthened us, decisions prioritizing health and connection. As another academic year approached, I prepared updated syllabi incorporating contemporary voices. The department celebrated with a reception, toasts honoring contributions. Family called regularly now, conversations natural. Success had catalyzed change, but genuine bonds formed through effort. Raymond and I took a weekend getaway to Napa, vineyards reminding us of growth. Discussions about long-term dreams included perhaps adoption or mentoring programs. The future felt open and bright. Challenges remained, societal pressures ever present, but resilience built over years prevailed. The journey of self-discovery had transformed isolation into community, love into foundation. Each step, from pain to triumph, illustrated human capacity for healing. Fall semester launched with energy, new students bringing fresh perspectives to discussions on identity. My updated lectures resonated, feedback highlighting relevance. Raymond joined a panel on visual narratives of acceptance, our synergy evident. Family visits became quarterly, each strengthening ties through shared activities like campus tours. My mother's cooking attempts in our kitchen sparked laughter, barriers dissolving. A colleague's retirement created opportunities for leadership roles, which I considered carefully before accepting a mentorship position. The decision reflected growth, balancing ambition with community impact. Raymond's exhibit in New York coincided with a book signing, the joint trip filled with professional highs and personal moments. Central Park walks evoked early dating days, gratitude profound. Back home construction on the studio finished, inspiring new writing projects. The foundation expanded, workshops now nationwide via virtual platforms. Success metrics included stories of young men finding courage, mirroring my path. A close friend from early struggles reached out, reconciliation with his own family inspired by my book. Sharing the update with Raymond felt full circle. Psychological peace settled deeply, confrontations with past now sources of strength rather than pain. My father initiated a fishing trip for just us men, conversations revealing his own regrets and pride. The outing marked authentic connection, no longer tied solely to fame. Raymond organized a community art show featuring participant stories, attendance exceeding expectations. The event celebrated collective journeys, love and acceptance at its core. As holidays neared, plans unified both families in California, traditions blending seamlessly. Reflections during quiet evenings revealed the full arc, from Disowned's shock to success's bridge and genuine healing. Misunderstandings, betrayals, and sacrifices had forged resilience. The major turning point of public recognition had accelerated change, yet true growth stemmed from internal choices. Raymond and I exchanged vows privately on a quiet beach at sunset, promises of continued partnership. The simple ceremony symbolized everything built. Looking ahead, new projects loomed, including a collaborative book on visual storytelling. Life's rhythm felt balanced, purpose clear. Challenges would arise, but the foundation of love and chosen family endured. One evening as fog rolled over the bay, we sat overlooking the water, hands intertwined. The journey had taught that acceptance begins within and ripples outward. My family's evolution, prompted by success, yet rooted in reflection, completed the circle. Yet one question remained in my mind, one that invites everyone to ponder their own relationships. Was the family's reconciliation after Victor's success sincere or purely opportunistic? True or false?